Imagine waking up every day, knowing the very ground you live on could disappear. It's not just about surviving, but figuring out what really matters when everything is at risk. While Dark Shore isn't your average end-of-the-world novel, it's asking, what do you save when you can't save it all?
That sense of urgency absolutely drew me in. Charlotte McConaghy really dives into that question of value. Her characters on this isolated island have to decide what's worth protecting, and it's never just about food or shelter. There's this seed vault, sure, but the emotional seeds, grief, memories, hope, feel just as crucial.
Right, and what I found powerful is how nature's not just a backdrop here. The island feels like a character. One minute, it's breathtakingly beautiful. The next, it's dangerous, almost threatening. It really mirrors the way our own environments can comfort us or put us on edge, especially as the climate shifts.
That's what stuck with me too. Nature isn't some passive refuge. It's unpredictable, and the family's relationship with the island gets complicated by both external storms and internal secrets. It got me thinking about coastal towns where the same ocean that brings tourists could wipe out homes.
You know, that actually reminds me of how much grief shapes the characters' choices. It's not just the threat outside, but the losses they've already faced, like missing family or old lives left behind, that push them to act or freeze when things get tough.
It's so true. Survival here means navigating all those invisible burdens. There's this character who can't let go of the past, and it changes the way she sees every risk. I think that hits home. What we've lost makes us fight for different things. Like people who rebuild after wildfires, they're not just driven by fear, but by memory.
And then there's the whole question of trust. Being stuck together in a crisis, secrets suddenly matter way more. It's almost like if you can't trust the people you're with, even paradise turns into a prison. I kept thinking about how, after big disasters, some communities pull together and others just fall apart.
Exactly. The human network is as fragile as the ecosystem. If one cracks, everything shakes. The suspense in the book comes as much from the relationships as from the storms outside. It's a reminder that even when the world's unraveling, how we connect with others can decide our fate.
So here's where it gets tricky: the ethics of preservation. The seed vault isn't big enough for everything. They literally have to pick what gets saved. It feels like a metaphor for all those real-world moments where we can't protect every species, every tradition, every part of our old lives.
What surprised me most is how the book doesn't shy away from that heartbreak. Sometimes you have to choose, and those choices hurt. But even with all that loss, McConaghy threads this idea of hope through the narrative, not just wishful thinking, but active, gritty hope. Like, purpose is something you have to choose, not wait around for.
That's what I took away too. Hope as a strategy, not a luxury. The family's not just surviving, they're trying to figure out what kind of future is possible, even if it looks nothing like the past. And maybe that's the real message. When the tide rises, it's not enough to hold on. You have to decide what's worth building next. You know, looking back, I get why critics rave about the atmosphere. The island feels alive, and every page drips with tension. But I also get the critique. Sometimes it can feel like there's almost too much going on, so many big themes colliding.
There's definitely a lot to juggle, and maybe not every thread lands for every reader. But I think if you love fiction that blends ideas with action stories where the environment shapes the plot, this book really delivers. It leaves you with those big, haunting questions long after you're done.
Totally agree. If you want a book that's just a straightforward thriller, this might feel a bit heavy. But if you're the kind of reader who likes to chew on what survival and hope really mean, Wild Dark Shore is one you'll keep thinking about.
And maybe that's the point by the end. You're not just wondering what happens to the characters, but turning the questions on yourself. What seeds am I protecting? What will I do when the world starts to shift under my feet?